Hello everyone, this is Streamer and welcome to Genius Mathematics. In this video, we will see about inequalities and how to solve them. So, we all know what equality means. That is just equal. That is, we know, let's say we have x equals 2. That is, we know this, x equals 2. Let's say we have 2 plus 3 equals 5. We know 2 plus 3 equals 5. So, this is what equal means. But what does inequality means is, if there are two constants, let's say we have 2 and 5, we know 5 is greater than 2, or you can write like this, 5 is greater than 2 or 2 is less than 5. So this is inequality. If we are dealing with just constants, these two are constants, then we'll just use greater than, less than or equal symbol. But if we have variables, then we can add two more symbols, that is less than, greater than, equals, and less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. So these four symbols here are called inequalities. This is equality. So this is what we are going to see today. Now the first thing is basic operations. We'll just take two numbers. Let's take 3 and 7. This we know 3 is greater than 7. But what if we do basic operations on these? Because let's say we have 5 equals 2 plus 3. If we add 1 on both sides, it will be same. That is, this will equal to this. Can we do those things with inequalities? Let's say we add 1 on both sides. We get 4 and 7. Again, the equality remains the same. 4 is less than 7. Now we will do subtraction. 3 minus 1, 7 minus 1. Here we get 2 and 6. 2 is less than 6. Again, the inequality remains the same. Now we do multiplication. 3 and 7 multiply with 2. We get 6 and 14. Again, 6 is less than 14. The equality remains the same. Again, we divide both things. Let's say we divide this with 3. We get 1 and 7 by 3. This is clearly greater than 1. So, again the inequality remains the same. So, for all the four basic operations, the inequality remains the same whatever we do on both the sides. Now we will see two more operations that we will come across when we are dealing with inequalities. The first thing is multiplying with negative sign or multiplying with negative 1. So this we will see. The next thing is we will see reciprocals. These two things we will see in including these four basic operations, because these two will be very important, or it will come across inequalities often. So first we will see multiplying with negative. We will take these same two numbers. If we multiply these two numbers with minus, we get minus 3 and minus 7. Is the inequality the same? No. The inequality changes its direction. So this is what will happen if we are multiplying an inequality with a negative sign. This is bigger and minus 7 is smaller, because in the normal number line we have minus 3 to the right of minus 7, which means minus 3 is bigger than minus 7. So when we are multiplying inequalities with negative sign, the inequality direction changes. Again, if we have reciprocal 3 and 7, if we do reciprocal 1 by 3 and 1 by 7, again the direction changes. Now 1 by 3 is greater than 1 by 7. So if we do multiply with negative sign and reciprocals, the direction of inequality changes. So this is very important when we are dealing with inequalities. Now that's the basic thing. Now the next thing is we will solve some linear inequalities with one variable. So we will just take x. Let's have x plus 1 is greater than minus 2. How do we solve this? Just subtract 1 on both sides, because the aim for us is to have x on one side and all the constants on the other side. So if we do negative subtract 1 on both sides, as we saw in basic operations, the sign won't change or the inequality won't change. So here we have x is greater than minus 3. So the answer for this question is x plus 1 greater than minus 2 is x is greater than minus 3. Because if we put x as, let's say, a greater number than x is, let's take 0. If we put 0 in this equation, we get minus 2. We get 1 is greater than minus 2, which is true. So x greater than minus 3 is the solution. Now let's take another example. Let's say we have 3x minus 1 is less than minus 5. We will take this equation. Now again adding 1 on both sides. We have 3x is less than minus 4. Now we have to divide both the sides with 3. So we have x is less than minus 4 by 3. So if the value of x is less than minus 4 by 3, then that satisfies this equation. Now let's have a number less than minus 4 by 3. We can take x as minus 2. We will take this number. If we give this number here, we have 3 times minus 2 minus 1. Minus 6 minus 1 is minus 7, which is less than minus 5. Now another equation we will have. Let's take 4 minus 2x is greater than 3. So here we have an equation. Again, minus 4 and minus 4 on both sides. We have minus 2x is greater than minus 1. Again, we have to multiply both sides with negative, which means the inequality must change. So 2x is less than 1. Now divide both sides with 2. So x is less than 1 by 2. Now let's take a number that is less than 1 by 2. Let's have an easier number, x equals 0. So we have 4 minus 2x, that is instead of x, we have 0 is greater than 3. 4 is greater than 3. So this x equals 0 is suitable, which means x less than 1 half, x less than 1 by 2 is the solution for this equation. So those are some basic examples. Now let's have a last example for this. Let's say we have 2 by x is greater than minus 4. So here first we will do what we will do is divide both sides with 2. So we have 1 by x is greater than minus 2. Here we have to do the reciprocal, which means x is less than minus 1 by 2. So if we put x less than minus 1 by 2 here, now let's say we take x equals less than minus 1 by 2, let's take minus 1. So if we put x as minus 1, we have minus 2 is greater than minus 4, which is true, which means the answer is x less than half, minus half. Now another important topic, inequalities with modulus. Now what is modulus? Let's say you have 4, modulus of 4, which is 4. Modulus of minus 4 is also 4. So what modulus does is, it takes an input, any number in this case, and it gives the positive of that input as the output. So if we put 4 here, it will give us 4. If we put minus 4, it will also give us 4, because it takes away the negative and gives us the positive. So that's what modulus does. What if we have modulus in inequalities? There are four types, for modulus. Let's say 3x minus 1, which will have common for all these questions. Let's take 3x minus 1 is greater than 2. Next we will have 3x minus 1 is less than 2. 3x minus 1 is greater than minus 2. 3x minus 1 is less than minus 2. So we have 4 equations here. The thing is, here the inequality is greater and here the inequalities are lesser, and we have positive numbers here and negative numbers here. That is the difference. These are the 4 kinds an equation can be with modulus. So here we have 3x minus 1 is greater than 2. So how we solve this is 3x minus 1 is greater than 2. This is an equation. 3x minus 1 is less than minus 2. Because if 3x minus 1 is less than minus 2, then this can be minus 3. And the modulus of minus 3 is 3, which is greater than 2. So that's why this is another equation and this is one equation. If we solve these two, we will get the answer. Let's solve 3x minus 1 is greater than 2. We have 3x is greater than, again adding 1 on both sides, we have 3. X is greater than 1. This is one equation. Now we will solve this. 3x minus 1 is less than minus 2. 3x adding 1 on both sides is less than minus 1. So x is less than minus 1 by 3. This is another equation. So the answer for this equation, we have 2 solutions. X is greater than 1 and x is less than minus 1 by 3. So these 2 solutions are the answers for this. So x can be greater than 1. Let's take 2 for instance. So we have 3 times 2 minus 1, which will give 5, which is greater than 2. We will have a number from this. X is less than minus 1 by 3. So we have number like minus 1. So if we put here minus 3 minus 1, which will give minus 4, and the modulus of minus 4 is 4, which is greater than 2. So those are the 2 solutions for this. Now the next equation. So if a modulus is greater than a positive number, we have to take the modulus is greater than the number and we have to take the modulus less than minus 2. So this is how we will solve this kind of an equation. So the next is 3x minus 1. Modulus of 3x minus 1 is less than 2. So how we solve this is 3x minus 1 is less than 2 less than minus 2. So this is the way for solving this kinds of equation. Because 3x minus 1, the modulus of 3x minus 1 must be less than 2, which means we can have values like minus 1. Yeah, we can have values like minus 1, 0, 1 and some kinds of that. So these numbers are greater than minus 2 and less than 2. So that's why this form is used. So we can just solve this as add 1 on both sides, on all the 3 sides. So we have minus 1 less than 3x less than 3. Divide all these with 3. So minus 1 by 3 less than x less than 1. So this is the answer for this equation. That is 3x minus 1. So the answer is minus 1 by 3 less than x less than 1. These 2 equations or these 2 solutions are different because here x should be greater than minus 1 by 3 and less than 1. But in this solution we have x should be greater than 1 and less than minus 1 by 3. So that is the difference between these 2 solutions. Now the next thing is 3x modulus of 3x minus 1 should be greater than minus 2. Here the answer is simple. The answer is all real numbers, because any number after doing modulus will be positive, which means it is greater than negative. Any number like 1, even 1, 2, 100, all these numbers, or even minus 100, If we get minus 100 for this equation, we have to do modulus and it will be 100, which will always be greater than minus 2. So the answer for these kinds of modulus equations is all real numbers. Any real number you put for x will solve this equation. So that is the answer. And now here, the modulus of any number will never be less than minus 2. So the answer is no solution. No real solution. So the answer for this is no real solution. So these are the 4 kinds of modulus inequalities involving modulus. And that's about inequalities. Thank you.